Hey everybody, Manny Talaber here. We're now on day 9, and on day 9 we're going to talk about money math again for a few minutes. Now we did cover money math in a previous video, but there are going to be some key things you're going to have to understand at a high level in order to move forward and in order for this to work. And I think money math is one of them. And I don't know if we talked about it before, but I'm not impressed with the charts, mostly because I can do all of this in my head. And also, I know the charts really don't mean anything, but the charts simply show all of the paths to $1 million. So one buyer at 1 million, two buyers at 500,000, four buyers at 250,000, five buyers at 200,000, 10 buyers at 100,000, 20 buyers at 50,000, 40 buyers at 25,000. 50 buyers at 20,000, 100 buyers at 10,000, 200 buyers at 5,000, 250,000, 250 buyers at 4,000, and and 500 buyers at 2,000, and 1,000 buyers at 1,000, and 2,000 buyers at 500. And so hopefully I didn't blow any of those up. But what's interesting is you don't have to worry about that because one, you can go out and find those. The other thing though is you should be able to immediately do these in your head. You should have all of those formulas down. You should know exactly how many buyers you need to get to your goal. That's the first thing. So we're not going to, the goal is the million, but the path to the million is 1,000 buyers if we're selling a $1,000 offer. Now, the reason for this is because once you get that, you can start backpedaling and you can reverse engineer your way to getting there. And so you're going to be running traffic. How much does it cost for an opt-in? How much does it, if you get an opt-in, what percentage of those opt-ins go through your funnel and get on a 5-day challenge or get on a 3-day masterclass or get on a webinar? And so we're going offer to offer to we're going from opt-in to a sequence that gets them into something where they can buy. And what's interesting is you can start reverse engineering, and you can quickly figure out how many opt-ins you actually need. And I can give you examples. The problem is everyone's funnel is going to be different. As a matter of fact, what's interesting about this is if you took two people and you had the exact same funnel with the exact same offer with the exact same steps, it would cost one, in general, it's always going to cost one person more money than it's going to cost the other person, because you also have to take into account the quality of the person who's running the Facebook ads. So if it costs you $10 to get an opt-in and it costs you $200 to get a sale, well, how many $200 do you have to spend to get $1 million? And that's what you want to think about. And that's the math you're going to constantly be doing. Now, the other thing, while you're doing this math, you're going to constantly be trying to optimize and fix that funnel and get all of those metrics to work better with each other. And so, if you're spending $20 for an opt-in, you're going to try and get that down to $10. And if you're spending $200 to get a buyer, you're going to try and get that number down to $100. And the other thing is, even if it costs you $500 per buyer, so if it costs you $500 to get a buyer ultimately, and you're selling a $2,000 thing, you need to sell 500 of those $2,000 things in order to make the $1 million. Well, how much is it going to cost you to get 2,000, get that money at a $500 buyer? And you just do the math. And what's interesting is you can pretty quickly figure everything out. Now, this is the thing though. You can't look at it as though it's going to cost you 200,000 to get to the million, or it's going to cost you 300,000 to get to the million, or even 400,000 to get to the million. You can't look at that number and say this will never work because I don't have that amount of money. Because what you're going to do is you're going to continue to roll the money that you bring in into new ads. And as long as the ads are profitable, you're going to basically get the thing scaling, and you're going to be scaling it with money from people who just bought. And that's what you want to think about. And like I said in a number of videos here, if you spend 15,000 and you bring in 45,000, right? It costs you basically it costs you a third of the money to bring in the buyers. You spend 15 to bring in 45. You got 45,000, you spend the 45,000, and the next month you bring in 135,000. That's how the money's going to show up. What you need to keep in mind, movie producers do this all the time. So they spend a huge amount of money creating the movie, but they do not spend a huge amount of money marketing the movie. What they do is they get a launch budget, and that launch budget might be 10 or 15 or 20 million dollars, and they will spend all of that money in a very short amount of time. And what happens, all of these people go to the theater and they watch this movie, and how this deal works is it's a 50-50 split between theater owners and producers. So people who produce this movie get half the money. So if they bring in 50 or 100 million dollars in one weekend, the movie producers get half of that money, they get half, and then they run all of that money into promotion. And if the movie isn't doing well, they quit promoting it and the movie dies. And so I want you to think the same way. And so it might cost you 200, 250,000, even $300,000 to get to the million, but it shouldn't bother you. It doesn't matter, because you're going to be doing that with other people's money. And this is the other thing. You're not going to stop at a million. So the mindset isn't that you're going to get $1 million in revenue, but it costs you $300,000 to get that revenue. So now you're only down to 700,000. Plus you've got all the expenses. And when you take all the expenses and taxes out, you're probably left with less than $250,000. But the mindset is that two things. Number one, you're going to keep selling the thing, and you're going to keep optimizing the thing. And the second million, it might only cost you 100,000 to get there. And then the third million, it might only cost you 50,000 to get there. Then the other thing that you need to think about is that your next sale to that group of people is all net profit. So if you sell them a $1,000 item and you make $1 million and it costs you 300,000 to get that money, the next time you sell them something that's 500 or 1,000 or even $2,000, all of that money is net profit. So a lot more money is ultimately made on the second sale, third sale, and fourth sale, because the first sale you have cost of advertising or cost of acquiring the potential buyers. And that's what I was talking about a little bit yesterday when we were talking about how much money is really at risk here. So if you've only got one shot, if you've only got one product and one thing you're going to offer, and you're going to put people on a list to sell them that thing, that money is very, very much at risk. But if you have a back end where you have products at many, many, many different price points, you can recoup that money. Even if you don't make any money on the first offer, you can still make a lot of money on the second, third, and fourth offer. If you look at the ClickFunnels group and you follow that group of people, this is something you need to take a look at. How quickly they made the first million to how quickly they made the second million. And generally what happens, it takes them a very long time to make the first million, and then the second million is made within a year, and then the third million is made within 6 months, and the fourth million is made within 3 months. And every time they're going up in revenue and they're also going down in ad spend, or how much it's costing them to create that revenue, because they're selling to past customers and they are also optimizing their ads all the time. And so what you want to think about when you're doing all this is you're going to get a baseline. You're going to find out how much it costs you to acquire a lead. And ultimately, you're going to find out how much it costs you to acquire a sale. Cost per lead, cost per sale, that's what you want to think about. And if it costs you $100 to get a sale on a $1,000 item, how many of those sales do you need to make $1 million? Well, you're going to spend $100,000. The math is there. Now, the thing is, again, you're going to optimize. And so it might be costing you $100, but hopefully you can work on those ads and work on the metrics to get the cost per sale down. Unfortunately, though, sometimes the tide's going to turn against you and the ad costs are going to go up. It's just going to be a part of doing business. And so you've got to get this. We're going to end out here, but I just wanted to give you all a little bit of a primer, and I hope I didn't explain it too awful technical, but